and our mission is to map every school in the world and to measure internet connectivity at schools. We're hoping to do that in 3 ways. So we're working with governments and NGOs who support schools to get the information that already exists and collate it and visualize it. We're also looking to do some on-the-ground data collection and crowdsourcing, and we are pairing some of the information we already have with high-resolution satellite imagery and machine learning to see if we can come up with an algorithm that could find schools through remote sensing. We are a tiny startup. We're headquartered in New York. Right now there are 3 of us. We're all in New York. We are partnered with UNICEF, which is our main partner, and for most of the on-the-ground work we're doing right now, we're going through them and their country offices. So right now everything is run from headquarters, and I'm the one liaising with governments and working with NGOs. I think we may eventually get to a place where we have a more distributed structure with regional offices, but we're not quite there yet. What we're doing is working most of the time through the UNICEF country offices and working with the Ministry of Education in the countries, seeing what data they already have and what they'd be willing to share with us. From there, we'll decide how we'll work together. We only have it for a few countries now, and the data is not public. They've shared it with us, but they don't want it to be publicly shared yet. But what we're hoping to do is work with governments, to work with the Ministries of Education mostly, to see what data they already have, and then either work with them to verify it, or to add on to it, or to compile it in addition to the information we're getting from NGOs and other sources, so that we can have a more robust picture of what's happening in a country. What we're hoping is a database that will have location, also level of internet connectivity. In the intermediate period, it will just be static internet connectivity, so yes or no. But what we're hoping to do eventually is work with existing tools or build a tool that will actually measure the internet connectivity in real time. So either at the school level or at the system architecture level, that will look at speeds of, and then we're also, so that will feed into our database as well. That will be more real time. And what we're hoping to do eventually is have a massive database that has all of this in it. And then for most countries, we'll make all of it public via a map where you can see both the map with dots for every school and the information about the school. And also we'll have maybe a dashboard or something else with some other visualizations that you can look at per country. There will be certain countries and certain pieces of information that we won't make public, that we may make public only on an aggregate level. And we have worked with UNICEF on a rigorous data sharing framework to ascertain which data we should make public. But we're hoping to make as much public as possible, recognizing that there are some real security and privacy concerns involved in some of the data we're collecting. We are working with some of the satellite imagery organizations. We're talking to ones like Digital Globe, we talk to Erebus, we talk to Planet Labs to see which imagery would be most useful for our purposes. We're still sort of figuring all of that piece out. We're also working with OpenStreetMap to partner with them on places where they're already doing mapping. And another thing we're trying to do is build a way to pull all of the data that already exists, either from OpenStreetMap or elsewhere, and pull it all together into our database as well, and then try and push out as much as we can to other sources too. A database that allows you to have different levels of sharing based on how sensitive the data is. So what we'll have is we'll have the one massive database, and there'll be one key where if you have that access, you have access to the whole raw data. But there will be 2 other levels of access that can be granted via API, would take into account our safety and security concerns via this data sharing framework we worked with them. And then using those APIs, we would then build out the data visualization on our end. We haven't yet decided if we're going to do everything in-house or if we're going to contract it out. We want this to be a database that's useful for everyone. So there will be a level of public access to the back end, of, in some cases just aggregate, but in some cases the full data that other people can use to do their own visualizations or to pull the data. We are really trying to make this be a tool that's useful to as many people as possible. So we're a nonprofit, and we will not be charging for the data. The data will be free and open and available, except for the ones that are private for security concerns. Right now, our funding comes from the tech community mostly, and I foresee it continuing to do that. We're exploring different revenue models where we may bill ourselves more as a consulting firm providing a service, but for now I think we're going to stick with the donation model and see what we can build that way.